session 2. Okay. We have the County Executive Director of Farm Service Agency, USDA agency, Mr. Phil Coleman, will do session 2. And then session 3 will be led by Ms. Colleen Corey, Public Affairs individual from the Tennessee Department of Agriculture. We will leave the program and agenda in the chat book, in the chat box. Okay, without any further ado, we would like to have the welcome and a Greenleaf overview from Reverend Marlon Foster, Executive Director and President. You should come up here where they can see you.
Good afternoon, everybody. To all our friends here with us and all of you online. We're grateful for Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation to be hosting, for us to be hosting, for them to come to Memphis and to share is always a good thing. We can partner and collaborate. Again, for those who have not been to Greenleaf Learning Farm, we're right here in South Memphis. Since 2012, we've been a USDA certified organic operation. We started our first community garden in 1999 and became formal in 2010 and began to go from a community garden to what we consider an urban farm. So the campus is about 3 acres. We're in ground in about 1 acre. And it's the conversion of 30 formerly vacant, blighted lots and 4 abandoned buildings. So one of the buildings is our version of a pack house that has, the 3-compartment sink, walk-in cooler, and commercial green sprinter and the like. But our other buildings are future farm-to-table restaurant, a corner grocery store, and a college dormitory. So we're so excited about this event. So excited again to partner with all of you that are here personally and online as we can do more about the future agriculture and food insecurity in our Mid-South area. Thank you so very much for allowing us to host and to be a part of this presentation on today.
Prayer.
Amen. And we're going to have a prayer at this time. So join us in an invocation to get us started. Let us pray. Lord God, we thank you for this time of sharing. We thank you for bringing us together. We thank you for land. We thank you for water. We thank you for your sunshine. We thank you for the abundance and the fruit of the earth. Continue to be with us. Let all that we do, say, think, feel, all be done in your spirit. We thank you for all that have gathered. You have given them great traveling mercy to be here. We thank you for all of those that are tuning in virtually. We thank you for their presence. And we just ask that you seal this time of sharing. In Christ's name, thank God and amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Walker. Next, we have the state conservationist for the state of Tennessee, Mr. Shelton Hightower. Come on across here. Yeah. I was just telling you to look over here.
Okay.
There you go. See when you. There you go.
Okay.
All right. There we go.
All right. Hey, thank you, Mr. Jones, and thank you to Dr. King as well too. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And I would just give a brief update regarding our COVID-19 as we've been working through this pandemic. But majority of our service centers are at 75% capacity for our staffing levels, and hope to be 100% next week. So just a couple of changes here. We Josh Richardson, he is the District Conservation Dresden, Tennessee, has been selected as Assistant State Conservationist for field operation in Jackson, Tennessee, which covers the Memphis area. And so he started his new role on April the 11th, replacing Kirk McDaniel. We do have Harold Pettigrew III. He is our new state outreach coordinator. Harold has multi-state experience. He served on the Civil Rights Advisory Committee and as the Black Emphasis Program Manager, has diverse knowledge of Farm Bill programs. So he started his new position on February the 28th, and you will be hearing from Harold later in today's program. As state conservation, it is a priority for as working in urban agriculture to ensure that conservation efforts are supporting urban farmers and communities in Tennessee. Right now, in FY21, Tennessee Nrcs obligated about $1.1 million in seasonal high tunnels for 109 contracts with landowners across Tennessee with the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. So we'll talk more about that later. This year, we allocated $1 million towards seasonal high tunnels. So we have made some approvals right now and currently entering into agreements with producers across the landscape here in Tennessee. So it's very important that I tell you that you need to visit your local field offices as far as this type of technical assistance or financial assistance. We have 72 service centers in Tennessee. And so we definitely have opportunities where we can go out on site, visit your properties, and kind of give you some recommendations. But Fred Walker is here. He is our district conservationist in Shelby County and Memphis. And so definitely he is ready to assist you. So let me talk about some opportunities that we have with USDA NRCS here in Tennessee. So we do have our competitive funding announcements. You may be interested in this. And Harold's going to cover this a little bit more later on, but we have 3 funding announcements, and the application deadline is Monday, May 16th at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time. And so basically, I would just give you a brief summary of these activities that we have. One is urban agriculture, where we're looking at provide grants up to $10,000 to establish a community or urban garden or a pollinator garden habitat, and also $15,000 for construction of seasonal high tunnels. And so we're looking to award about 8 awards with that. So we also have our next one is outreach and education. So we're going to look at providing grants to accomplish a number of objectives to educate customers as far as increasing delivery of conservation assistance to historically underserved farmers and conduct outreach efforts. And so we're looking at approximately 4 awards with that for $300,000 through this opportunity. And the last one we have is the general conservation agreements. And so we're looking at cooperative agreements to address, soil health, water quality, working agricultural lands, and grazing lands and forestry practices. So we're looking at 8 awards for about $400,000 regarding that. So Harold will talk a little bit more about that, our state outreach coordinators on these opportunities in his presentation. One thing we're asking is we have a Tennessee State Technical Committee, and that is, and we're in the process, we are developing an urban agriculture subcommittee to increase our outreach and engagement efforts with urban farmers, non-government organizations and institutions to look at, so we're looking at individuals to serve on this subcommittee. So more information will come on that, but that State Technical Committee in Tennessee, we meet 4 times throughout the year. It's vital for our Farm Bill programs. We want to get the local information, the local knowledge and expertise to implement the Farm Bill programs and have locally led conservation. So we have 4 meetings throughout the year. We do this advisory. We're looking at this as far as how do we implementation of our conservation programs, and how do we make sure that we carry out the chief priorities. So the State Technical Committee is chaired by the State Conservationist myself. Going into Farm Bill programs, our focus this last few months is delivering the implementation of our conservation programs to producers in Tennessee. Right now, we made over 3,000 payments to producers for about $23 million. So, and also we're processing about 3,000 environmental quality incentive program applications. And we made selections already for our announcement. So we are requesting additional funds from our national office. And then also we're working on our conservation stewardship program. We have a little over 400 applications for that program, and we're going to be completing the assessments on that as well too. So we're excited. We're getting the funding we need here in Tennessee, but we're also trying to get some additional fundings to kind of carry out our priorities in the state. And so really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think it's very important to let you know what opportunities we have within USDA, to make sure that you know our state outreach coordinator, which we'll be talking later on, understand the services that our service leaders can provide across the landscape. So with that, really appreciate the opportunity to kind of share a brief update with you all. And I will be here for the remainder of the program. And I appreciate the partnership that we have with Mr. Jones and Dr. King for putting on these events to make sure that we get that information out there to everyone. So thank you, sir.
Appreciate you also.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Hightower. Next, we have our founder, president, and chief executive officer, Dr. Calvin King, will give you an overview. And in session one, instead of Mr. Fred Walker, who was in the audience here with us, Mr. Harold Pettigrew would do that session, Dr. King. Dr. King, you there?
Yes, I am. I'm here. Let me express my sincere appreciation for NRCS and Mr. Hightower. Mr. Hightower has actually done everything, and that really deals with the purpose as to why we're here. And this is to bring you more information as it relates to natural resource conservation services, particularly NRCS program service delivery. I must commend them on the fact that they have a subcommittee from the technical committee on urban agriculture. I think that's very positive, and I would encourage everyone, those who are both in person as well as those that are participating online, that you actively participate with the urban agriculture subcommittee, and your input would be very valuable as to the guidance and direction for the state technical committee. So I want to commend them for that, what they're doing. And, this meeting is all about, again, outreach, natural resource conservation services, everything that Mr. Hightower talked about on the program service delivery with NRCS, what they're doing in the state of Tennessee, opportunities that exist, from what I say, an equality and equity perspective. I will say this from an overview perspective that, part of this meeting and future meetings to come, as we talk about the services of NRCS, we are speaking of those services from an equity and an equality standpoint that coincides with a newly formed commission at the national level called the Equity Commission. And that's really all about making sure that the underserved communities and unserved communities receive the equality, equal access, and equitable type of investments. From Mr. Hightower's presentation, it really sounds like they are moving forward and they have a plan to deal with equity investments based on the allocation of funds for dealing with the urban agriculture from the hoop house perspective, that being one, the amount of dollars that are being allocated for that. And we all know whenever you talk about capital investment and dealing with real property, you are creating an added value. And of course, one way to create equity within a community is to add value to the real property that exists in those communities and diversify the overall capabilities of those areas. And that coincides with what Reverend Foster gave reference to with local food supply. To the extent that you're able to build the urban farm capacity and local food supply within the local communities through urban agriculture, that creates more value in the community. It builds more equity within the community itself based on the ultimate net value of that. And of course, opportunity, and of course, the equality aspect of it, which is the direction in which USDA has set, at this point under the present administration. So again, I commend the state of Tennessee, and particularly Mr. Hightower and his presentation and everything that he presented. Definitely is building that foundation on equity and equality with natural resource conservation services as relates to NRCS and USDA as a whole. I'm going to stop at this point. At that point, if anyone has any questions, of course, afterward, we'll address those questions as relates to Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation. We have 3 divisions with the organization. We have a youth program division. We have our ag and economic development division. and we have our housing advocacy program division as well, as relates to, again, equity and equality and how we try to promote that. I want to say this too, and this is just a reference point. I was going back through some of the history of the organization and went back and looked at some of our meetings and conferences, and I hope Mr. Hightower is still there to hear this. In 2016, we had a state conference, and the theme of our conference during that time period was equity and equality for the underserved and unserved community. That was in 2016. And I made that statement during that comparison because it's pretty ironic now. The Justice for Farmers and Landowners of Color, that particular legislation that passed, along with the Equity Commission that has been created as a part of that legislation, coincides with what we were talking about, really more than just the year 2016, but that we've been talking about for a period of time. And I'm a firm believer is that with outreach, and if there is enough advocacy and enough discussion in reference to the real issues itself that affect people at the local level, that change does become a reality. We're going to move ahead now with the agenda, and I think Mr. Jones gave reference to some modification or changes. But the session one, we're going to go ahead with session one, and that's with Natural Resource and Conservation Services. It has a district conservationist for Shelby County, and I think you said Mr. Walker is not there, but I'm just going to ask the person who was there for NRCS. Are you on?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, Mr. Harold. Okay, well, we're going to turn it over to you at this point. And Mr. Hightower said that everything we need to know and we need to get, that you got it.
I got it.
So okay, all right, we're going to give it to you now. So you can make sure that we get all the other details as relates to this service delivery with NRCS. Mr. Harold.
All right.
Pittigan.
Well, I'll turn off my, thank you very much for the introduction. I'll turn off my camera while I'm doing this, just so it's not going back and forth with my PowerPoint. And then give me 1 second, then I'll actually share my screen with you all. All right, and can you all see the PowerPoint now?
Yes, we have it.
All right, good. As Sheldon said, my name is Harold Pettigrew, and I am the outreach coordinator for Tennessee NRCS. And today we're going to just be discussing some urban agriculture benefits and how the NRCS can help you in achieving your urban agriculture goals. So about us, who we are and what we do. So USDA, a Natural Resource Conservation Service in Tennessee, is a federal agency that helps farmers improve production, reduce input costs, and conserve natural resources for the future of soil, water, air, plant, and animals. Urban farming is a priority to the USDA NRCS Tennessee State Conservation Sheldon Hightower, who is dedicated to expanding conservation tools and support to address the unique needs of urban farmers and communities in Tennessee. This priority is in direct alignment with USDA NRCS Chief Terry Crosby. Okay, what is urban agriculture? So this is an example of what you see here on the screen. This is an example of the national overview of urban ag and what the NRCS can offer. And as we see, we're looking at seasonal high tunnels, vertical production, warehouse farms, community gardens, rooftop farms, hydroponics, aeroponics, and aquaponics nationally. So we'll review some more info about what Tennessee does specifically for our urban agricultural producers. Tennessee has our own specific practices that will be mentioned, like I said, later on in our presentation. Urban farmers and gardeners work among diverse populations to expand access to nutritious foods, foster community engagement, provide jobs, educate communities about farming, and expand green spaces. Urban agriculture and why urban farming. These are 4 major benefits of urban agriculture, such as fresh and healthy produce, helps eliminate food deserts, it creates economic development, and secures food security. Right? NRCS serves all agriculture, large to small, conventional to organic, rural to urban. As American agriculture continues to grow in new directions, NRCS conservation assistance is growing along with it. By bringing cultivation and opportunity to both rural and urban areas, we address many needs, restoring the health of the soil and restoring the health of the people. Urban agriculture pioneers are taking action in their communities by growing not only fresh, healthy produce, but increasing opportunity and knowledge and improving the beauty of their neighborhoods. Through community gardens, produce is being grown and donated to those who need it. Children and adults are learning about agriculture firsthand. Farmers markets are offering easy access to fresh foods in areas where grocery stores are miles away and are providing new income streams for residents as well. But how NRCS helps urban farmers? We now have new payment scenarios. The district conservationists are always there to help you as well. We have a great program called EQIP, Environmental Quality Incentive Program, which helps a lot with the high tunnels and the pollinator habitats, as well as the urban gardens. We also have a new state-driven, well, not new, but state-driven CTA grants. As Mr. Sheldon Hightower mentioned, we have our urban subcommittee to the state technical committee, which will give a lot of input on how we should move forward with urban agriculture and the urban agriculture needs. And we also have the conservation stewardship program, which will also help with pollinator habitats as well. Right here, we have the four main categories of where the NRCS, Tennessee NRCS can help and contribute in urban agriculture. And the first we see is we can increase the soil health by maximizing continuous living roots, minimizing the disturbance, and maximizing soil cover, as well as maximizing biodiversity. As experts in soil health, NRCS conservationists can advise urban growers on things like what cover crops to grow by using the farmer's soil tests that are provided from the farmer and utilizing our soil survey. Our high tunnels are the next big thing in urban agriculture. And the NRCS can provide financial assistance for high tunnels used to extend growing season to protect plants from harsh weather, air pollution, and pests by making local produce available for more months in the year. Fewer resources are used to transport the food to plates as well. Also, we have community gardens. Community garden production of vegetables and fruits is an important source of fresh food and nutrition to small communities and individuals. Our pollinator habitats also contribute to the pollination of those fresh fruits and vegetables that contribute to a higher yield as well. As well, it increases access for, increases access for wildlife, food as well, and reduces soil erosion from water by protecting the soil from water erosion. Here we have one of the grants that Mr. Sheldon Hightower was mentioning. The United States Department of Agriculture and Natural Resource Conservation Service in Tennessee is offering grants funding assistance through its fiscal year 22 Notice of Funding Opportunities. Urban agriculture, outreach and education, and conservation agreements are the 3 NFOs Notice of Funding Opportunities being offered in Tennessee right now. The Urban Agriculture NFO Notice of Funding Opportunities will assist with urban gardens, pollinator habitats, and seasonal high tunnels. All 3 of these funding announcements, like Mr. Sheldon Hightower mentioned before, deadlines for the applications are Monday, May 16, 2022 by 11:59 p.m. This is our next Notice of Funding Opportunity. And this Notice of Funding Opportunity is outreach and education, which provides grants to accomplish a number of objectives to educate and inform NRCS customers on conservation programs, increase delivery of conservation assistance to historically underserved farmers, and conduct outreach efforts. Right here, we have our conservation agreement Notice of Funding Opportunity. And the conservation agreement provides cooperative agreements to address soil health, water quality, working agricultural lands, air quality concerns, and grazing land and forestry practices. Here we have Tennessee NRCS Urban Farm highlights. And just in our highlights, we have, we were proud of the proposal for competitive funding agreement in the categories of conservation, urban conservation, and collaborative outreach, which resulted in 13 proposals being selected for a total funding amount of more than $600,000. We also, as the NRCS in Tennessee, did 1.1 million seasonal high tunnels for 109 contracts through the Environmental Quality Incentive Program. As you see here, this is one of our NRCS Urban Agriculture success stories, Mike and Karen Minnis from the Landmark Training Development Company. Memphis NRCS USDA District Conservation Fred Walker worked with Landmark to fund a seasonal high tunnel through the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, EQIP. Landmark is using the high tunnel along with 3 others to grow vegetables that produce over 2 tons of food annually. Landmark works diligently in support of healthier environments where families have access to nutritious food, positive experience, and educational guidance to help them thrive. Neighborhoods need champions, members, volunteers, donors, teachers, and organizers to keep farmers markets, and food pantries essential to the community. Why, you ask? Because everyone deserves access to healthy produce is their motto at Landmark. And this is the Tennessee NRCS State Technical Committee that we were mentioning before. And with this the Tennessee NRC State Technical Committee, then it is intended to include members from a wide variety of natural resources, agricultural interests, chaired by the NRCS State Conservationist, Mr. Sheldon Hightower. And this committee is composed of representatives from federal, state natural resource agencies, agricultural and environmental organizations, and agricultural producers. As mentioned, Tennessee is in the development of an urban agricultural subcommittee. And the urban agricultural subcommittee is composed of the state technical committee members who may be needed to analyze and refine specific issues. The state conservationists may assemble certain committee members, including members of local working groups and other experts to discuss, examine, and focus on particular technical or programmatic topics, or a combination of such. Subcommittee's responsibility may include, which is just one because there's 9 of them, but just one of the responsibilities that it does include, if you were to join the subcommittee, is to identify local urban agricultural needs emerging, and so we can start creating practices that take on these resource concerns, and potential partnering entities to support urban, small scale, and innovative production. And this is what would be encompassed of, a member of this subcommittee. So this is really how you get your voice across on the needs that you might have in your community. Tennessee USDA NRCS Urban Agricultural Partners. The following are new and existing local, state, regional, national partnerships that Tennessee is using to expand its urban ag efforts. Tennessee Environmental Council, the Austin Peay State University, Appalachian RC&D, Trevecca Nazarene University, Tennessee's Women in Ag Association, Appalachian Sustainable Development, University of Tennessee Ag Extension Service, and Tennessee State University. How to get started? Well, we have over 72 service centers in Tennessee. So all over Tennessee, we're looking for new ways, and we have the staff and offices to help you all with that. It's easy. You make an appointment. Some offices will conduct business by phone and email to increase efficiency of service and make this less of a barrier. This will ensure quick service. Our offices can get pretty busy, especially at times around program sign up and reporting deadlines. So that's why it's important to make an appointment, and definitely prepare yourself before coming into the office so you have a clear understanding of what your vision might be, so that we can help you in the challenges that might come. And of course, feel free to ask any questions. It was a pleasure talking to you all today, and I hope that I was able to go over a lot of the stuff that you were wondering about with this new urban agriculture initiative that we have going with the USDA NRCS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettigrew. I have one question for you, and this is for clarity purposes in comparison to certain other states. So you all recognized as urban agriculture, as well as being eligible for your program services, urban farms that are not necessarily directly on these, well, it's connected to soil, but you do rooftop as well as bedded urban farms. And when I say bedded, where they maybe have framed beds and things of that nature.
Not currently. That's something that we're working towards. The four main ones would be the pollinator habitat, the seasonal high tunnel hoop gardens, pollinator habitat, and I don't want to tell you anything wrong. Let me go back up to that real quick. Yeah, and the soil health aspect of it. But we are hoping to get to that point of doing the rooftops. But nationally, that is something they put in our toolbox that we should be able to utilize at some point.
Okay, on the my other question. So in order to be eligible for the grant dollars and for the EQIP funding, you must and hoop the EQIP funding for hoop houses. It has to be ground based, land based on the ground where you're actually farming directly into the soil on, say, a lot or 2 lots or things of that nature.
Correct. As of right now, yeah.
Okay. I just when I saw the presentation, I was thinking maybe you all were far more advanced than the other states, that you had a lot more diversity in your urban farm. I said, well, that's all right. You need to get that over to these Mississippi and Arkansas.
Not yet, but we will get there.
I appreciate it. Appreciate that. I appreciate.
Thank you so much.
Right. I appreciate the clarity. I appreciate the clarity on that. And I'm assuming that with that requirement, the same thing would be with farm service agents. I know they will get to that in order for you to qualify for the FSA farm number, it has to be actually in the soil and property where you're going to be working directly with the soil. I try to link this do this one USDA thing that everybody's on the same page with USDA, so there's no confusion on my part. I'm not confusing other people in the process. Again, thank you very much. We're going to go on now to session 2. And I think we have Mr. Phil Coleman. He's here. He's on. Mr. Coleman, how are you?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you well. We're going to turn it over to you now on session 2, and I think you're with the Farm Service Agents.
Yes, sir. I'm the County Executive Director of the Farm Service Agency in Shelby County and also in Tipton County. I would like to point out that the Shelby County Farm Service Agency office is only open to the public on Tuesdays. The rest of the time, if a Shelby County resident needs information, they need to contact the Tipton County office. All of our staff in Tipton County can handle any business needed for either county. But on Tuesdays, I usually end up in Memphis myself at our office in Agri Center. The rest of the time I'm located in Covington. Just like to make that clear on the front end. To be eligible to draw benefits through NRCS, they're required to do some eligibility documentation, and that's where the Farm Service Agency comes in. We're the record keeping system for USDA. The first part that comes to play, then a lot of people ask about, is getting a farm number. A farm number is needed to make application for any USDA benefit. To get a farm number is not a hard process. We have a form, it's called Form AD 2047, that would need to be completed, and that actually gives permission to FSA to enter them in the USDA computer system. That's the part that we need on that. And also, we gonna need to be able to, gonna need to be able to identify where the location of the property is. If they do not own the property, that's quite okay, but we are going to have either a written lease agreement or a statement from the owner that that individual or entity has control of the property for the coming crop year. That's the issues that we have. The other thing I would like to address on farm numbers is how they're applying for USDA benefits. If it's an entity, then the application for the farm number with us to be the operator needs to be the same entity. In other words, an example of that, let's say me as an individual, I come in and I fill out a 2047 trying to get a farm number. I go up to Fred Walker's office in Nrcs and apply for a seasonal high tunnel as a entity, an LLC, a nonprofit or anything. The two of those have got to mirror each other, or there will be some issues that come up later on in the application process. We're here to help people, can answer questions on them. Feel free for anyone to contact me either by email or by phone. I can leave my email address. I know Mr. Jones has it, and I'm more than welcome for him to give it to all the attendees of today's session. After getting the farm number and they get into the application process, there's some other eligibility paperwork that Farm Service Agency will need. One of the forms is called AD 1026. It's a conservation form that the operator is just certifying, or owner is certifying that they have not completed any conservation work on the farm that might impact the conservation status of that property. Another issue is they're going to have to complete an adjusted gross income form. To be eligible for any USDA benefit, the individual must certify that they make less than $900,000 adjusted gross income, and that's based off a 3-year average income. Between the farm number, the AD 1026, and the adjusted gross income, that gets most of the process completed. One other form that would be needed for them to draw payments through NRCS or benefits through NRCS is a farm operating plan. It is a computer generated form through our agency. We can fill it out quickly by asking a couple of questions to the applicant and send it to them to sign and to submit back to us. All of our forms are available to be submitted electronically back and forth by email. We can accept signatures on all forms by email now. So that is in place. Is there any questions that anyone would have related to getting a farm number?
Mr. Coleman, I want to ask you one question. This is a point of, I guess, clarity also. One is that the person must show that they have control of the property either by a lease agreement or title ownership of the property. My question is regarding the issue, and you find this a lot, particularly in the underserved communities and areas, the issue around air property. If an individual has a lease with an heir to operate or to have access to a piece of land, would that simply be enough? Say, I'm going to be the operator and I have 3 lots that I want to get a farm, and they're all contiguous that I want to get a farm number on. But this is heir property lots, but I have a lease agreement from one of the heirs. Is that acceptable for a farm number?
As long as none of the other heirs have stated to anyone that they're opposed to that, we would accept that, yes.
Okay, so you would accept that without any legal document to back it to support it?
Just for this issue, yes. It's not a long-term agreement to get a farm number. And another thing that some people have had issues with or concerns with, a farm number goes to the property itself. So if changes of ownership, changes of operators doesn't change the farm number. And that's an issue I just like to address to let people know that it's the land that gets the numbers, not the people.
Well, I needed some clarity on that, just to make sure, and our listeners that are on, that you can get a farm number with air property if either one of the individual heirs. You're right, you're 100% right. It does not change the structural makeup of the ownership of the property in any form of fashion as far as from a legality perspective. It only assigns, it only authorizes that gives a farm number to that particular piece of property and whomever is going to be operating the property.
That is correct. And one of the things that we deal with a lot, and we have some issues, issues not the correct term, but when ownership changes hands, we don't go out and search property assessor's records to see who owns property. We take it that the operator or owner will contact us and let us know when there's been a change in ownership. So we're probably going to have some properties in our record system that's got the wrong owners on it. But it's a never changing world on that side of it on ownership issues. You know, the ownership of properties is changing. And if somebody doesn't identify it to us as changed, we really don't know. We don't really have a reason to suspect anything else. I mean, it's not, I don't have an employee sitting looking every day checking to see who owns property. We don't have time to do that.
Okay. Look, one of the questions in reference to that, because we're going to move. I want to make sure that there's no confusion. You gave reference to completing the farm plan and say the farm plan and how that coincides with the farm number. I don't want there to be any confusion on the audience part that farm plan is not the farm business plan to access finance.
No,
those are two different plans.
It is totally two different things. And if the participant is only applying for NRCS benefits, only the two items they're signing to is, are they U.S. residents and are they over 18 years of age? That's the only two things that has to be on that form for us to grant them the eligibility to draw the payments. So it's really, if it was, we use that same form for other programs, but for NRCS purposes only, that's the only two items they've got to answer to.
Right. Exactly. I just wanted to make sure because we're going to move on, and then we're going to move to the farm business planning aspects. So once you have the farm number for that particular property, that particular operator, now at that point, are they eligible? Would they qualify for financing with FSA?
Okay, on the financing side, I'm going to have to direct you to a loan officer. That's a different segment of our agency. The loan officer that handles Shelby County, her name is Joyce Murphy, and she is located in the Somerville, Tennessee office. And I would have to direct any financial questions to her. That's something I don't deal with in my line of work.
All right. Well, I understand. Let me just share then with the audience, as we understand it, and we do provide support technical assistance in that area, Arkansas Land and Community Development Corporation does. This first step process on the program side with FSA, getting the farm number is absolutely crucial as the first step for moving forward with the urban farm. Access to financing does become another very crucial area for operating the urban farm, and that's both for equipment as well as other operating expenses that individual will have. The reason that I gave reference to the farm business plan and the farm plan that Mr. Coleman gave reference to, and I have had clients and there was some confusion between the two, so they wanted to get financing, but they had turned their farm plan in. I said, well, that wasn't a farm financial plan. That was the farm plan as it relates to the farm number itself, only for that, and it does tie back to NRCS. once you have the farm number and you are established as a farmer, you are eligible for financing as a beginning farmer, or you may be an existing farmer with Farm Service Agency. Most of the farm business plans that we develop as relates to the micro urban farm are the micro loans, and that loan program provides up to $50,000 in direct financing for beginning farmers or existing farmers. That's strictly on the operational sides of it for your farm operating business plan. And that's a direct loan from FSA. On the capital investment side, if you're going to be, and you must have been operating for, I think it's a minimum of 3 years, actively engaged as a farmer, and of course, being able to back that up with history, with tax information is actually one where Schedule F on your tax information for the past 3 years. Then you can also qualify for a capital loan. Now, the capital loan is for buying land. So if individuals have been operating, proof and evidence of that for at least 3 years, and there was an opportunity, say, to acquire or purchase some property in a particular urban area, and that you wanted to get a farm number on, then that would be on the capital side. I would suggest you do this though. First step first, what Mr. Coleman gave reference to, if you identify that property and you've been operating for more than 3 years, and you have an interest in purchasing it also, your first step is going to be with Mr. Coleman. Get that farm number on that property. Once you have the farm number and knowing it would meet all the eligibility criteria, and then move forward to dealing with the actual purchases or executing any option you may have on that property to purchase it. Again, that's the micro loan program, direct loan program. That's administered by Farm Service Agency, and of course, those who may not be urban farmers or maybe the more traditional type of farming operation, the farm financing side has the regular operating loan that goes up to $400,000 for operating purposes, and that's for an operating loan itself. And that's for equipment, other operating expenses that may be involved. That's either for farming or for ranching. And then, of course, you have the capital investment side on that as well for land purchase. That's up to $400,000. So as a direct loan, and that's financed, over a period of time, dealing with amortization based behind that. I won't say how many years, but I think you can go up to 30 and may only be 20 years. And they do have the most affordable interest rates when you're dealing with both the operational purposes of it as well as the capital investment purchasing land side of it. Mr. Coleman, I'm gonna ask you one other question. This may not be on your side, on your area as well, but I think it is on the program side. I was reading, I saw some information here recently, and we're going to be publishing some of that out through our e-letter and on our website. But I'm not sure if it was, I think they just recently announced under the release the availability of financing, where they're financing in certain states or certain counties where they have disaster financing available now. Is that true for the on the program side, that on the finance side with FSA as well?
Well, that's all of that is what you're speaking in reference of is the emergency loans, and that still comes through the loan side. Shelby County is eligible for an emergency loan period now because of some conditions here, and also being contiguous to Mississippi that was declared recently. So I think it's available. That still comes through the loan side of our agency.
Well, am I right? Or did I understand it correctly when they said also in that announcement that under the declaration of disaster, there may be possibly that's through the, I don't know, is not a relationship to ZAP, to NAP, but the possible disaster payments. those who possibly experienced losses in 2021, I think it was, year 2021 fiscal year. That's still going to be on the financial side, not on the program side.
I'm not aware of anything on the program side on a disaster type payment for this area.
Okay, all right. It's only on the emergency finance,
Correct.
on the financing
Correct.
side. Okay. Well, I just wanted to make our audience aware of that and how that normally works. If you are a traditional regular operator, whichever, under the emergency loan program, a disaster program, if an individual was not able, and I think this may be a part of the COVID as well, if an individual was unable to meet all the obligations and repayment in previous operating year, then what this allows you to do is to apply for the emergency loan, which pays off your regular operating loan from the previous operating season and make you current. And of course, that's spread out, or they restructure the entire business operation then and spread that out over a longer period of time, creating enormously in most cases, stabilizing the operation and providing for a very definite positive cash flow. So I want to mention that that's what FSA as well. Those announcements recently came out, and I would strongly suggest any of you who have not had conversation with FSA and may have possibly received the letter, anyone, again, because of the way that the economic situation has been going here recently, what has been going on with COVID-19. There are some who did have shortfalls in their operation. So that is there. The declaration has been approved. And as Mr. Coleman gave reference to, for that area, for that county, and I would suggest you get in as soon as possible, get your application in as soon as possible, put you back on the regular track of normalcy with your farming operation, be it urban or traditional farming operation, back on the normalcy track, and getting all of your financing moving forward for 2022. That's all I have in relationship to it. Mr. Coleman, I appreciate it. Do you have anything else, Mr. Coleman?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak. I'm here to help people. I don't want them to get upset when we start asking questions, because we get in some issues at times with entities. We have people that bring in LLC paperwork or apply as LLC and don't like it when we ask them. We've got to see some organizational structure of that LLC, but we're here to help. I would like to end with saying we welcome people to come in. We are allowing customers in by appointments. Hopefully that'll change soon, but a lot of our services now can be handled electronically. We do a lot of our business by email now.
I agree with you, Mr. Coleman, 100%. We do the same ourselves. And I will say this: anyone who may have a need or have not used the system accordingly and feel that they need to have an appointment or a conversation with a staff person, and you do not have a Zoom account or something of that nature, then we will work with you. Our farm advisor will work with you. We will set up the Zoom meeting, forward the link on to the FSA individuals, and we can have those conversations based on wherever you may be, either in developing your plan or accessing and getting the services from FSA without going into the office. But we do offer that service to our clients. And we can do it a lot quicker and a lot faster without going through the full approval process like normally USDA does. So we can set those up. We can create the office engagement and face-to-face conversations with USDA personnel and make sure that we're all on the same page and how we're trying to move forward, benefit from the service delivery on the part of the agency. I want to mention this also, and again, just to reemphasize what Mr. Coleman said, and again, I say one USDA from an agency and program service delivery perspective. If you go into FSA as an individual and you apply for your farm number, when you go to Nrcs, to apply for EQIP or other program services, then you should apply as an individual. Do not mix and match. Apply for one as an individual and for the other one as an entity. I hope y'all heard them very clearly on that. And we have seen why that has occurred in certain cases as people go through. The paperwork has to flow the same with the names and it all has to match accordingly. So I hope everyone heard that and make sure we truly understand the importance of that. It has to be consistent from one agency to the next agency. Mr. Coleman, again, we greatly appreciate your time and your participation in this event. And if you're going to be around, if there are any other questions afterward, we'll entertain those questions at the end of the agenda here. We're going to move forward now. All right, thank you very much. We're going to move forward now to session 3. And on session 3, we have the Tennessee Department of Agriculture, and that's with Colleen, as Tennessee Department of Ag on. Has there been another agenda change here? Mr. Jones?
They should be on. Mike, do you have them? Is Colleen Corey on?
I see the name Colleen Corey, yes. I don't see the name. I don't see anyone up. But unless someone else is representing the Tennessee Department of Agriculture.
No, there isn't. There isn't. If she's not on, her and Mike Brown, they're not on.
I'm going to go ahead with session 3. We're not going to hold things up. I know everyone has an agenda and a busy day. Another part of that, we're supposed to talk about air property. I gave reference to air property with Mr. Coleman and how air property can sometimes be a barrier or an issue in accessing services. Now, I'm hopeful we still have our Nrcs on as well. Mr. Coleman said that is not a barrier for getting a farm number. As long as you show that you have access to that, that is the same with Nrcs. Is Nrcs still on?
Yes, there you yeah.
Yes, we are.
Okay, let's stay off. Well, what you have, okay, Mr. Pettigrew, if it's an air property situation, is that an issue with Nrcs?
You said an air quality?
No, air property, where they don't have clear title ownership to the property. And they were signing up for EQIP as an example. To get an EQIP contract and an individual has a farm number, but it's air property, and say he's leasing this property or she's leasing the property from one individual who has an interest in that property.
So in that case, they would have to get basically a permission to do that. So we usually have them have the owner sign permission over to them to be able to utilize that property for the whatever the period of the contract is. But we do ask them to actually be managing that property or have some type of stake in that property.
Okay, so basically they should show what they have the administrative authority to execute such a lease, and they execute that lease for the time period, for the compliance period for the contract with Nrcs.
That's correct. And then they would have to be on the farm data report as well as a producer or owner. So they would have to get with FSA and put themselves on that farm data report to ensure that we actually know that producer has given them permission. And then on top of that, we would have that producer actually sign over permission for the duration of that practice or enhancement they were doing.
Okay, I think we have a question in the audience.
Yeah, this is Fred Walker.
Yes, go ahead.
Shelby County. I would add, Harold did an excellent job answering that question, but I would also add that they have to have authority, which is a 1257 form for a landowner concurrence. And we would have to have the people that has the authority to give the permission to install those practices on their property. You know, as we all know, airline could be one person or 50 people or 100 people for that matter. All of those people would have to be in some type of agreement to give permission to install that practice on that land, unless it is a one-year management practice. Now, if it's like a cover crop practice or not critical area, but a one-year practice like prescribed grazing, something that just happens for 1 year, we call it a management practice. And you don't have to have that land on the concurrence, but anything more than 1 year, most of our practices are going to be more than 1 year. So we're going to have concurrence from all members of the owners of that aircraft, which is a very difficult situation.
Thank you very much. I do understand that, and I was bringing that up to make the point because we had the discussion regarding getting the farm number, but after the farm number, then of course you're able to go over to NRCS, and that becomes another process and certain other requirements. One is he gave mention to is the compliance period. We're dealing with equipment, maybe what five-year period of time under contract. It's not just an annual type of situation, and that agreement being from all the heirs. Of course, all of you, hopefully everyone. Go ahead.
We can have an EQIP contract as less as 2 years. We try to implement a practice in the first 12 months. If it's only one practice, we try to implement that in the first 12 months, and then we give ourselves another year to operate and maintain that to where we're kind of making sure it's still being operated and taken care of. Now, our practices have a life expectancy on it. It's like a fence has a 20-year service life. So, even though the contract is over, we're still expecting that practice to be out there long enough to serve its services. Grade control structures have a 15-year service life. Water and sediment control bases, 10 years, high tunnels, 5 years. So, even though the contract may be a 2-year period and it's done and over with, we still expect that practice to serve its lifespan.
Okay, all right. We appreciate that. But our audience, of course, air property is when you have a piece of property, a land, a real property where there's undivided interest and there's not a clear title ownership. Say individual parents may have left a farm, a real property to the children, and there are, say, 5 siblings or 4 siblings. Either way, you have 4 individuals that's involved with that particular piece of property. One normancy in the process, and to make sure you have the having the legal authority. When I say the normancy, is just to have get a resolution, an authorization, a resolution authorization signed by all 4 siblings or 5 siblings. So a resolution of authorization that allows John Doe to act as the administrator for the property or for the estate, and you can do that as a legal document, have it notarized. And but talk to a lawyer first. This is the Calvin King, who's not a lawyer, discussion behind this as a procedure process. The other thing is to probate the estate, and you have a lawyer to probate the estate for you. And during the probation process, the administrator is authorized or given approval through the courts with the agreement of all parties that may be involved. That's another way to deal with it. In a lot of cases, it's multi-generational when you're dealing with air property. It may be, the children, and then some of the children have passed on. I'll use my family as an example. Out of 11 siblings, now there are 5 left. So now you can imagine, out of 11 with 5 living, and then there are numerous grandchildren that's involved, and some great grandchildren. but just the grant. So you're talking about multiple generation and a lot of undivided interest. Now, fortunately, my parents, they left a trust and everything, and how the estate was to be operated and the probation process through the courts long after they were gone. And we have I'm the administrator that was dealt with through the process and through the courts for the trust, and of course we have trustees that I report to accordingly, because there is an annual reporting requirement and financial statement that has to be provided to all the trustees and all the interest holders of the trust. And it gets to be a work process, but again, I've been doing it for a number of years now. And you have to make sure you're dealing with all the tax obligations and everything else that may be that's involved, as it relates to the trust and the assets and the holdings of the trust. But now what does exist, and as we talk about air property and you talk about USDA now, the equity and equality aspect of it, what does exist, USDA has a re-lending program, and they have executed, started that particular program on service delivery through what I call third parties, and the third parties, what they call CDFIs, Community Development Financial Institutions. So the Community Development Financial Institutions, I don't know, someone may be online who know the ones that exist in Tennessee that's providing that financing. But the benefit of that particular re-lending program is that if you have an individual heir that wants to sell their interest in that property, undivided interest of air property, then one can apply for a loan to purchase that individual heir's interest out. To purchase all the individual heirs' interest out. And now, if it goes through the court process and where an individual is disgruntled, upset about something that has an interest in the air property, and they petition the courts, and that does happen a lot of times. If they petition the courts, then in a lot of states, and I don't think Tennessee has passed the Unified Air Property Act. In Arkansas now, of course, if that occurs, then any heir who is dissatisfied or want to sell their interest, they must first offer it to the remaining heirs or any one individual heir at what the appraised value is. Of course, so that's the benefit of the re-lending program. Then by way of the court itself, then by that court decree, you can use that court decree and respond accordingly to accept the offer at appraised value of that heir and buy the interest out, and then set up an administrator, all those who are in agreement for that particular air property. That's only in Arkansas. In Tennessee, I don't know what the law itself is, but the resolution of agreement, is definitely one way of approaching that. And if you do a resolution of agreement between all of the heirs, all of those individual heirs who are on the same page, a resolution of agreement that they want to authorize John Doe as the administrator, it at least gives you, puts you in more of a positive position with that air property situation that you may find yourself in, and possibly in being able to move forward in accessing program services within Nrcs. So if you had 4 heirs involved, 3 heirs in agreement, and so that's 3/4 of them being in agreement. I mean, 3/4 of the assets that's involved in agreement order, and for one to serve as the administrator for them and all their interests, at least it gives you a 75% administrative authorization by those particular heirs. And again, this is only a basis for our discussion. Any questions you may have, but air property can be a barrier, as Nrcs representative gave reference to, and it is something that has to be addressed, and looking at the procedural manner and how it may best be addressed in your particular state or any other state. Again, we work with that. We try to work through a process from a technical systems perspective with individuals dealing with descent and distribution and where that interest is, both through counseling and the intake process we go through at our office with our agency. We also have education information on that on air property. Anyone who may have an interest in receiving the publication that we put out, as well as a summary training document that we've also published with the support of NRCS, not in accordance with the new law, but the way some of the laws are in some of the other states where there has not been the passage of the Unified Air Property Act, giving a little bit more, I guess you would say, flexibility as to how the issue can be handled. But again, the air property relending program, it does exist. That is very real right now. I'm sure you may be able to go to the USDA website and pull up and see all of the CDFIs who are providing the financing to purchase air property interests out. So it may be where individuals you're involved with, you are an air with air property that you may want to take advantage of the program. See if all the other heirs or some of the heirs want to sell their interest in the property, and you create an LLC for those individuals who do not want to, and take advantage of the relending program, purchase those, and it reduces the risk. I mean, one of the main thing it does, whenever you have a situation where everyone is not on the same page, and you have those who are on the same page, then those who may not be on the same page or maybe say a possible risk factor as relates to that real property, then I would say have a family meeting. Have a family meeting, get on the same page, create the authorization resolution by all of those who want to maintain their interest, with one serving as the administrator, and get the option to purchase from all of the other individuals who want to sell their interest, and begin the process of application possibly with the CDFI to purchase their interest out and to reduce the risk of losing your land. What does happen, and then I'll be finished at this point. What does happen normally when you engage with air property and there's not a clear title of ownership and an individual, and where you do not have the Unified Air Property Act, and an individual petitioned the court. They petition the court and say, well, I want my interest out. And it used to be like that in Arkansas as well. If they petition the courts to get their interest out of the property, in most cases, under the old law in Arkansas and in a lot of other states now, then the courts force that land to be sold, basically saying the land cannot be divided equally and equitably. And that's saying you may have some land that part of it's wooded land, some of it's clear land, some of it's flooded land, some of it's erodible land on a farm. So all of it doesn't have the same value. It doesn't have the same value. So based on the fact that there's not equal value of the land, you can't just divide it up and say, well, there's 4 heirs, we're going to divide it up in 4 sections, and everybody, unless you just come to an agreement like that, everybody get that deed on, say it's 100 acres on that 25 acres. So the courts, and it has been the history. It has been the history, I think roughly maybe a third or maybe more than that, of the contributing factor to the loss of Black-owned land in this country has been by way of air property. Major contributing factor, that being by way of the court, by way of the law, and the petition sale of land, or where property is forced sold by way of petition through the courts. So that's an issue. They do have those resources available now. I think that could be very beneficial in the process, and very important for people in the community. And it doesn't have to be, 100-acre farm. No, it may be a house. It may be a house and 5 lots. Particularly with urban farming and urban agriculture being very popular right now, and one of the greatest growth projections in agriculture are in farming right now. Then it definitely it is in the interest of any heirs or all those who engage in dealing with air property to look at how you can move forward or how you can create a more positive situation for yourself with that estate. Again, just petition, not petition the courts, but probate, do deal with a probate process through the courts, and the court decree can deal with the authorization process to do that. But get you a lawyer now, dude. Don't just go on what Kevin King said. Please do not do that. Don't say Kevin King said it. Kevin King said, talk to a lawyer and talk to somebody who really specifically understands the law as it relates to your state and what to do. So I'm going to end it at that point on air property. And again, I don't know the Department of Agriculture programs with Tennessee. I have heard their presentation before. They had some grant programs and other very great resources in Tennessee. And from what I've seen in the past, and I'm sure it's continuing now, there was a great partnership between the State Department of Agriculture, Tennessee State University, and with USDA, and how they were utilizing certain resources that the state had available, which is always very, very positive when you start to talk about economic development, be it agriculture, community economic development in any form or fashion. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if there are any other questions, either from the audience, those who are in person, or those who are online, I'm going to open the floor up for that now at this point. Well, there are no questions. I'm assuming everybody's question was answered, both by our resource presenters, those who were on the agenda. And I'm not one to prolong time let me take that back. Most of my staff say I am one to prolong time because I, go pretty long most of the time. But let me say, if there are no questions from our audience, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Jones. And again, my appreciation to Nrcs, Mr. Hightower, Mr. Pettigrew, Mr. Coleman with Farm Service Agency, and ladies and gentlemen, just remember, the thing is one USDA. Now, what I did not mention, I'm only talking about this is only on the State Department of Agriculture. Make sure I don't miss anything. But he did say the focus areas provide resources. This is for local food supply. Of course, that's what the State Department of Agriculture. The opportunities on air property, I talked about that. Of course, that's with USDA, CDFI, Community Development Finance Institutions. I know rural development is not on, and we said one USDA. Rural development really does not do a lot in the urban area. They're not like FSA and they're not like NRCS. So the reason we did not have them on, with an exception of what they do and what they call their energy grant program, creating energy efficiency if you're dealing with from a urban farm perspective. And I'm not going to try to explain all of that at this point, but if you're in a rural area, outside of the metropolitan point of Memphis, Tennessee area, Shelby County, any of you who may be on that lives in a rural, they do have their housing program. They also have, if you're a population, I think it's under 25,000 or 35,000 population in a rural city or town, they do have their business enterprise grant program for economic development. They have the community facilities grant program, and of course they have their housing, their housing program and infrastructure program. So that's what they have under the one USDA. And on the USDA rural development side, I want to just mention that in case there are those who are not in the urban setting that may be online, that's in the rural area, and where that area may possibly qualify where they can provide direct services to them. Mr. Jones, that's all that I have for today. If there are no questions from anyone in the audience, either online or in person, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Dr. King. And I'd like to thank all the presenters and the individuals who were there who did leave. We're gonna ask State Conservation for Tennessee, Mr. Shelton Walker, to give us final remarks and close the program out. Hot time.
Hey, that's okay. You good? You good? Hey, just a few comments before we close today. I just want to really thank Dr. King and Albert Jones, and really Marlon Boston. Yeah, I really want to thank him. I always enjoy coming out to this site, and there's always some more things that he's doing amazing out here. And so I'm looking to connect with Mr. Foster again, you know, as far as even talking to my leadership team to kind of look, get that hands-on, that one-on-one conversation with you, Mr. Foster, what you're doing out here and how can we expand what you're doing with other folks as well too. So I always enjoy the great work that you're doing out here. So 3 things I would share. We talked about our grant opportunities. We'll have either Catherine can put that in the chat, grants.gov. And then also we need folks to serve on our urban subcommittee to our state technical committee. We meet quarterly basis, and I'll have my team to put that information in the chat as well. And then also I mentioned about if you need that technical assistance or that one-on-one assistance for our district conservationists or field staff to come out and visit your place, give you some recommendations, to share opportunities where you can sign up for our conservation programs. They are able to assist you. They're equipped. They're certified planners that can help you improve your operation. You're doing great things out there. We just want to continue to improve and protect our natural resources. So with that, grants.gov, we need folks to serve on our state technical committee as far as this subcommittee to urban agriculture. And then also, if you want that one-on-one assistance, feel free to contact our local district conservation. So with that, it's been a great program. It's always good to be here in Memphis, and it's very nice outside. So it's good to very enjoy this venue here today. So with that, thank you again, Mr. Foster. Really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and I'll turn this back over to you. We'll cut it off for today. Thanks for everyone for joining, and be safe and enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you. Good deal.